Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're tackling one of the absolute biggest factors behind long-term survival in a reef aquarium, getting your new saltwater fish and corals acclimated correctly. Look, bringing new aquatic life home is incredibly exciting, we all know that, but safely transitioning them from a shipping bag into your display or quarantine tank, that can be really tricky. Okay, let's dive into this and make sure you're giving your new additions the best possible start. So why do so many new fish and corals fail to survive their very first day? It's a heartbreaking reality in the hobby. To really get why this happens, we have to look at the journey before the box even reaches your front door. Shipping exposes your livestock to immense stress. Inside that tiny sealed bag, they're dealing with wild, extreme swings in temperature, pH, salinity, and dissolved oxygen. If you don't handle this transition with extreme care, those harsh swings cause severe shock and, sadly, mortality. And that brings us to our core concept today, acclimation. Acclimation isn't just dropping a fish in a tank. Think of it as a slow bridge between the harsh world of shipping and your pristine aquarium environment. Now, the exact method might tweak a bit depending on the species or the supplier's practices, but the recipe for success is always the same. It requires careful, slow water quality matching, minimal time out of the water, and keeping a very close eye on them right after introduction. To make this somewhat complex process completely foolproof, we're going to break it down into 6 actionable steps. We'll be looking at 1. The float and dump danger. 2. Preparation is everything. 3. Equalizing the temperature. 4. The drip acclimation method. 5. Safe transfer and quarantine. And finally 6. Aftercare and common mistakes. It's a logical, chronological journey, so don't worry, we've got this. Starting with Section 1, the float and dump danger, or why shortcuts lead to setbacks. We have to kick things off by busting the most common and, frankly, most dangerous myth in the hobby. A lot of folks, especially beginners, use what's called the quick float and dump approach. Floating the bag for a few minutes and just tossing the creature right in. But remember that toxic chemical soup inside the shipping bag we just talked about? Dropping an animal straight from that into your pristine tank causes a sudden, massive shock. Instead, the expert-recommended approach, slow water quality matching, ensures a gradual adjustment. Shortcuts here literally cost lives, guys. Moving on to Section 2, preparation is everything. Setting the stage before the bag opens. Because honestly, your success actually starts way before the delivery truck pulls up to your house. Before you even think about opening a shipment, your destination tank, whether that's your quarantine or the main display, has got to be completely stable. You need to match key parameters as closely as humanly possible, especially temperature and specific gravity, which is your salinity. And this is a big one. If your tank is still cycling or if the salinity is bouncing around, you must postpone adding sensitive corals. They literally will not survive it. Also, get your gear on standby. Have a clean, dedicated acclimation bucket, a thermometer, and a reliable salinity tool ready to go. Okay, Section 3, equalizing the temperature, the first step in the slow bridge. So let's talk about the exact moment that bag arrives and the immediate physical environment of the livestock. 15 to 30 minutes, that is your magic number. Temperature shock is incredibly common when bags arrive from a totally different environment. You want to float the sealed fish or coral bag in your aquarium for exactly 15 to 30 minutes so those water temperatures can equalize and prevent any shock. But here is a crucial warning for you. Avoid extended floating. Do not just leave that bag floating for an hour while you run out to grab coffee. The second you're dealing with a sealed shipping environment, the water conditions inside that bag are rapidly degrading. Waste builds up fast, so you have a very specific, tight window to get the temperature right before that water turns toxic. So the crucial point is that temperature is only step 1. Getting the bag to the right temperature doesn't do a single thing to solve the drastic differences in salinity and water chemistry between the bag water and your tank. For that, we need to move to the next phase of water acclimation, which brings us to Section 4, the drip acclimation method, slowly blending the environments. This is arguably the most important technical phase for sensitive livestock. 45 to 90 minutes. That's exactly how long you want to run a slow siphon drip from your display or quarantine tank right into your acclimation container. The exact time depends on just how wildly different the salinity and volume are between the shipping water and your tank. But this process slowly blends your aquarium's water into the shipping water. It lets your new livestock adjust without any sudden, jarring chemical changes. So here is your step-by-step workflow. First, you gently empty the bag contents into that dedicated acclimation container we prepped earlier. Next, start your drip, but keep it slow. You're not trying to create a whirlpool here. You'll stop the drip when the water in the container roughly matches your target tank parameters. And finally, gently net the fish into the tank. You absolutely must avoid pouring that dirty shipping bag water into your pristine tank. That is crucial for quality control. Now, corals require slightly different handling because they are extremely sensitive to handling stress and water chemistry. Think of it as managing their phase changes. You need to keep their transfer times incredibly short and keep them submerged as much as possible. Minimize their light exposure while they are outside the tank too. Once they are actually in the tank, start them in a lower flow or more shaded area for that first day. Then you can gradually adjust the flow and light intensity. This respects their sensitivity and massively reduces stress. All right, Section 5, Safe Transfer and Quarantine, protecting your established ecosystem, because this next part is all about safeguarding the tank you've already worked so hard to build. Even with a totally perfect acclimation process, pests and diseases can easily hitchhike on new arrivals, which is why a quarantine setup is essential. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what distress symptoms you need to watch for once they're in there. For fish, keep an eagle eye out for flashing, labored breathing, or reduced appetite. For corals, you're monitoring for tissue recession or a lack of color retention. Feed conservatively at first and just observe them closely. Oh, and here's a highly actionable, very quick pro tip. If you're acclimating multiple specimens from different shipping bags, avoid cross-contamination. Use separate nets for each or handle them one at a time. The last thing you want is a localized issue from one bag spreading like wildfire to all your other new arrivals. Which brings us to our final chronological phase, Section 6. Aftercare and common mistakes, ensuring long-term survival. The livestock might be in the water, but the job isn't quite done yet. Let's look at the errors that can ruin all the hard work we just did. Consider this your definitive what not to do checklist, because undermining your own efforts is surprisingly easy. Never add livestock without matching temperature and salinity first. Resist the urge to pour that filthy shipping water into your tank. Skip the fast dump acclimation for sensitive corals. Never skip quarantine for fish. And whatever you do, don't let those acclimation containers sit so long that the water quality starts to drift. 24 to 72 hours. Once your fish or corals are introduced, this right here is your critical window. You absolutely must keep conditions totally stable and avoid any additional big parameter swings for at least the first 24 to 72 hours. During that golden window of stability, here is exactly what you need to actively monitor. Check the ammonia and nitrite levels in your quarantine tank. Keep that salinity dialed in. Watch for a healthy feeding response in your fish. And for your corals, look for normal polyp extension and stable tissue. And hey, remember, do not expect immediate best behavior from your corals on day one. They've had a long trip. They need time to settle in. Ultimately, this whole process boils down to one core philosophy. Acclimation is that vital, slow bridge between the shipping world and your tank. Success is the combination of temperature matching, gradual water chemistry adjustment, careful transfers, and close observation. Master these steps, and you give your saltwater life the absolute best possible start in their new home. So, you know the science, you know the steps, and you know the exact timelines for a successful transition. You've got the blueprint. But before you go and place that next order, I want you to ask yourself this. Is your quarantine tank truly, verifiably stable for its next arrival? Preparation is everything, guys, so double-check those parameters before the box even ships. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy reefing.